Some of the more fascinating pieces of evidence in South America have come out recently about these channels and pathways that they've found in the Amazon that could not have been created any other way but by humans creating irrigation, humans creating, like, it appears like grids, like a city grid.
Centuries ago, an explorer claimed to witness glittering Amazonian cities teeming with life, only to be dismissed as a liar, swallowed by the so-called green hell and academic ridicule. But what if the title you clicked is not a fantasy? New evidence from Ecuador reveals a lost metropolis mapped by laser, a civilization that rewrites everything we thought we knew about the Amazon. So why did the world refuse to believe? And what other secrets still lie buried beneath the trees? In the spring of 1542, Francisco de Orellana drifted down a river that seemed to have no end. His ragged party, starving and battered, pushed deeper into the Amazon than any European before. The jungle pressed in from all sides, dense, dripping, alive with dangers both real and imagined. But what Orellana recorded was not just hardship. According to the chronicle penned by his companion, Friar Gaspar de Carvajal, the riverbanks revealed something no one in Spain could have expected. Vast settlements, orderly roads, and crowds of people, so many that Carvajal wrote that it seemed like a city without end. Their canoes passed villages with hundreds of houses, raised platforms rising above the floodplain, and women warriors who fought with arrows. Orellana's men, desperate and half-blind from hunger, watched as smoke curled from communal fires and fleets of giant canoes gathered for battle. Carvajal would later lose an eye to an arrow during one of these clashes. When news of the journey reached Europe, the tales were met with disbelief. The Spanish crown, wary of wild claims that could justify more costly expeditions, demanded proof. But Orellana had brought back no gold, no stone monuments, no treasures, only stories of a civilization swallowed by green. His testimony was picked apart by royal officials and rival explorers. The chronicler's words were dismissed as exaggeration, the product of fever or fantasy. For centuries, his name became a cautionary tale, a man who saw what he wanted to see, or worse, invented what he could not find. Yet the details in Carvajal's account lingered like a burr. He described causeways straight as arrows, plazas bustling with people, and fields cultivated between the trees. Later expeditions returned to the Amazon, searching for these lost cities, but found only endless forest. The verdict was swift. Orellana, the liar of the river. His vision of Amazonian civilization faded into legend, a relic of conquest and wishful thinking. Historians and scientists built their models on the assumption that the jungle was empty, its soil too poor, its people too scattered for cities. The myth of the green hell took root, casting a shadow over every new discovery for the next 400 years. Still, the question refused to die. What if the jungle had simply hidden its secrets too well? What if the river's liar had been telling the truth all along? As one historian puts it, history is written by the survivors, but the Amazon writes in silence, under leaves and roots. Today, the debate is no longer about Orellana's character, but about the evidence buried beneath centuries of disbelief. Even now, his story stands as a reminder, sometimes, the world dismisses what it cannot see. The Amazon basin stretches across 2.5 million square miles, an expanse so vast that for centuries it seemed impossible to truly know. Early naturalists and explorers returned from its depths with tales of endless trees, choking humidity, and soil that seemed to defeat every human effort. Scientific consensus hardened around a single idea: the Amazon was a green hell, hostile to civilization. In the 20th century, this view was given academic weight by American archaeologist Betty Meggers. Her 1952 book, Amazonia: Man and Culture in a Counterfeit Paradise, became the cornerstone of Amazonian archaeology. Meggers argued that the region's acidic, nutrient-poor soils made intensive agriculture, and by extension, large-scale settlements, impossible. According to her theory, the rainforest could only support small, scattered tribes, never cities. The jungle's apparent emptiness was, in her words, a natural limit imposed by the land itself. This idea found support in the soil chemistry. Amazonian earth is notoriously thin and acidic. Heavy rains wash away nutrients, leaving a blanket of red clay beneath the surface. Attempts to farm these lands with European crops failed again and again. The rainforest, it seemed, was a closed system, one that could not be tamed or transformed. For decades, this explanation locked the Amazon's secrets behind a wall of scientific skepticism. Archaeologists searching for lost cities were dismissed as fantasists, chasing mirages through the mist. Expeditions that returned with nothing but pottery shards or vague mounds were held up as proof that the forest had always been empty. The scale of the basin itself reinforced this belief. With millions of square miles to hide in, any evidence of ancient civilization could be dismissed as an isolated anomaly, not the mark of a true urban network. The dominant narrative insisted that the jungle was pristine, untouched since time immemorial. Even indigenous oral histories were often ignored or downplayed, overshadowed by the authority of soil analysis and satellite images showing nothing but green. By the dawn of the 21st century, the green hell paradigm was so deeply rooted that few questioned its logic. The Amazon was seen as the ultimate test of human limits, a place where nature always won. Any suggestion of lost cities was met with raised eyebrows and polite dismissal. It would take a new kind of tool and a willingness to look beneath the surface to break through the intellectual barrier that had kept the Amazon's true history in the dark. Stephen Rostaine spent the better part of 30 years hacking through the undergrowth of the Upano Valley. Each field season brought him face to face with the same frustration, mounds half swallowed by vines, pottery shards scattered in the mud, and a forest that seemed determined to erase every trace of its past. The valley's secrets stayed just out of reach, hidden beneath a living ceiling so thick that even aerial photos showed nothing but an endless green blur. For decades, the story of Amazonian civilization stalled here, at the edge of what could be seen and touched. Then a new tool arrived. LiDAR, light detection and ranging, offered a way to peel back the jungle without lifting a single branch. From an aircraft flying above the canopy, millions of laser pulses rained down, each one timing its return to map the ground in 3 dimensions. The technology did not just photograph the forest, it digitally erased it. Specialized software filtered out every leaf and trunk, revealing the bare earth below. For the first time, researchers could generate a digital elevation model, a map of the landscape as it truly was, stripped of its disguise. Rostaine remembers the moment the first scan appeared on his screen. He said, "Every time I look at these images, I am stunned. Where the eye once saw only chaos, the computer revealed order, straight lines, right angles, and patterns that no natural process could explain." The valley's hidden architecture began to emerge, a network of platforms and roads woven into the landscape, as precise as the plans of any modern city. After decades of searching, Rostaine and his team finally had proof that the forest was not empty. It was built upon a forgotten geometry, waiting to be uncovered by light. Beneath the tangled canopy of the Upano Valley, the LiDAR scans revealed something almost mathematical in its precision, a vast constellation of earthen platforms, more than 6,000 in all. Each one stands out as a perfect rectangle, measuring about 60 feet long and 30 feet wide, and rising between 1 and 3 meters above the jungle floor. These were not random piles of earth, but deliberate, engineered foundations, some grouped in clusters, others aligned in rows, their edges crisp even after centuries of rain and root. Archaeologists believe these platforms served as the base for houses and ceremonial buildings, raising the inhabitants above the soggy, flood-prone ground. There are hints of post holes, but no stone walls or monumental facades. Instead, the architecture is subtle yet monumental in scale, a city built not from rock, but from earth, shaped by human hands and lost to view beneath the forest. Some platforms are isolated, while others form small neighborhoods, each with its own set of mounds and open plazas. The density is staggering. Across a single settlement, hundreds of these platforms can be found, their regularity suggesting careful planning and communal labor. The sheer number, over 6,000, defies any notion of a scattered tribal society. Instead, it points to a population in the tens of thousands, organized enough to move mountains of earth and lay out a city grid in the heart of the rainforest. What emerges is a portrait of urbanism unlike anything expected in Amazonia, not stone towers or pyramids, but a living city of earth, geometry, and green, its foundations still holding up the forest centuries after the people themselves vanished. Across the Upano Valley, the forest floor hides a network that defies the logic of jungle life. Instead of winding footpaths or animal trails, LiDAR scans reveal avenues that run in perfect lines, so straight they ignore the hills and rivers, slicing through the landscape like surveyors' marks. Some of these roads stretch for 25 kilometers, their beds measuring between 5 and 10 meters wide. That's the width of a modern 4-lane highway, cut not for cars, but for feet and burdens, processions and trade. Engineers shape these causeways with deliberate precision. The roads run arrow straight, linking clusters of earthen platforms and plazas across the valley. They do not meander. They do not follow the easiest route. Instead, they cut across ridges and through low ground, even bridging small ravines as if the people who built them answered to a single vision. Along their edges, ditches and embankments manage the heavy rains, channeling water away from the roadbed and into the fields beyond. This is not the work of scattered households or casual travel. To move thousands of tons of earth, to keep the lines true for mile after mile, demands central organization and collective labor. Archaeologists estimate that building a single 10-kilometer stretch would have required tens of thousands of person days, hundreds of people working together for months at a time. Maintenance, too, would have been a constant task, as the jungle pressed in and the rains returned each season. The pattern is unmistakable. These roads were the skeleton that held the city together. They integrated distant neighborhoods into a unified system, allowing people, goods, and ideas to flow across the valley. In a place where nature favors chaos, the Upano engineers imposed order, leaving behind the unmistakable signature of a metropolis planned on a grand scale. Life in the Upano Valley unfolded across a landscape that looked nothing like the crowded cities of Europe or the stone-built empires of the Andes. Here, urban life was woven into the forest itself. The LiDAR scans revealed a patchwork of rectangular mounds, more than 6,000 in total, each one serving as a home or ceremonial space, arranged in clusters that stretched as far as the eye could see. Platforms rose above the damp ground, their edges neat and geometric, forming neighborhoods separated by open plazas and straight avenues. Between these living spaces, fields and orchards filled the gaps, blending agriculture with daily life in a way that turned the entire valley into a vast, cultivated garden. This was not a city of walls and towers. It was a living mosaic, with houses, fields, and roads integrated into a single sprawling system. The scale is staggering. Across an area of 115 square miles, the settlements covered more ground than many ancient capitals. Archaeologists estimate that at its peak, between 10,000 and 30,000 people called this valley home. That is a population on par with Roman London or the heart of the Maya world, all spread across a landscape designed for both community and cultivation. The Garden City model here was not a dream of planners. It was a reality, built by thousands of hands over centuries, and hid beneath the forest for generations. The Upano Valley's ancient residents faced a daunting challenge: how to feed thousands on soil that, by all accounts, should have been barren. Amazonian earth is famously thin and acidic, stripped of nutrients by relentless rains. Yet the gardens between the platforms thrived, and the secret lies in a dark, crumbly soil known as terra preta, black earth. This was no accident of nature. The people here engineered their landscape by mixing charcoal, broken pottery, and compost deep into the ground. The result was a soil that could support 3 harvests of maize each year, its fertility enduring for centuries. Even today, patches of terra preta remain richer and more productive than the land around them. But nutrients alone are not enough. The Upano Valley receives torrents of rain, threatening to turn homes and fields into swamps. To solve this, the engineers dug a network of drainage canals, some more than 4 meters wide, running for hundreds of meters between mounds and fields. These canals channeled excess water away from the raised platforms, protecting homes from floods and nourishing crops at the same time. The system was so effective that even after centuries of abandonment, traces of these channels still guide rainwater through the jungle. This was not just survival, it was a living blueprint for sustainable life in the heart of the Amazon. For nearly 1,000 years, the Upano Valley's garden cities thrived. Then, somewhere between 300 and 600 AD, the settlements fell silent. The reason remains an open question, but the landscape itself offers a few clues and a deep sense of loss. High above the valley, the Sangay volcano broods, its slopes marked by scars from countless eruptions. Archaeologists have found layers of volcanic ash in the fields and canals, hinting that Sangay's fury may have buried crops and made life impossible. Yet, no single sheet of ash seals the last houses. No burned ruins and no mass graves tell a story of sudden disaster. The end of the Upano cities is not written in catastrophe, but in absence, a gradual fading rather than a final blow. Disease is another suspect. Across the Americas, waves of sickness after 1492 devastated entire civilizations. But in the Upano, the cities were abandoned centuries before Europeans reached the basin. There are no skeletons showing signs of epidemic, no DNA evidence of invisible killers. If disease played a part, its traces are gone, washed away by centuries of rain and root. For the descendants of the builders, modern Shuar and Achuar communities, their ancestors' achievements were never truly forgotten. Oral histories speak of raised gardens, straight roads, and a land shaped by many hands. Today, the rediscovery of these cities is more than a scientific milestone. It is a restoration of memory and dignity, proving that the people of the Upano were not lost to time or myth, but remain present in the living forest and in the stories passed down through generations. Today, satellite lasers reveal what machetes and myths could not. The Amazon is less a wilderness and more a forgotten archive of human ingenuity. As only 1% of its vast expanse has been scanned, every new discovery rewrites history and challenges our assumptions about civilization itself. The real lost city may be the one we have yet to imagine. What do you think lies beneath the green?